Hello, everyone. I'm from Line. My name is Son. Today, we would like to discuss corporate culture and value of OSS for engineer development. We have two panelists with us today. First, we have Mr. Seo from ZOZO Technologies and Mr. Nanashima from Mercari. Now, when you think of OSS today, it generates many values. How companies do support the value creation and what are the efforts that are supported by the corporations. So that's the topic for us. In this session, we will be accepting questions from the website. You can ask questions, and we will be answering your questions as much as possible. And this is our agenda for today. We will start with the self-introduction of the panelists, and we will talk about the future prospect of OSS usage, how companies do support OSS efforts. That's the major topic for us to discuss. I hope that you will enjoy this session until the end of the program. So without any ado, we would like to start off with the self-introduction. Mr. Seo, would you like to start? My name is Seo from ZOZO Technologies. We have an ID on internet, COTS and friendly committer. I am the committer, and for ZOZO Technology, he joined in January 2009, and in April, we wrote OSS policy. We actually wrote a blog about us, and that is the reason why I'm here today. In terms of technologies, SRE specialist, that is my role. I'm leading SRE team. We have ZOZO Town Space Project. I am in charge of the infrastructure in that project, and at the same time, enterprise-wise projects such as CISA, which focuses on OSS policy. Sometimes city or office asks us to focus on that. So that's part of my job as well in this position. Thank you very much. Seo, as an engineer, what do you do? As an engineer, well, I love OSS open source softwares. I do write softwares. That's who I am as an engineer. So next up, we have Mr. Nanashima from Mercari. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nanashima from Mercari on the internet. Jolly Joestar is my ID. In 2017, in August 2017, I joined Mercari, and then in order to strengthen engineer organization, we started to communicate technologies. We are trying to activate engineers site, and starting this January, I moved to Mercari. Again, I am in charge of engineer organization development. How a company deals with OSS in terms of distributing softwares, OSS has been publicized, and the company was supportive of this. And I myself had ideas as to the kind of OSS that we wanted to develop. So we started off with project. We tried to publish OSS. But in order to do this, publicizing OSS, we have to make sure the securities, and there are other challenges. We wanted to overcome those challenges. So all the volunteers set up OSS promotion office. So it has expanded its activities. Now these activities are corporate official activities. We have OSS program office. The name has been changed. So I want to talk about the history of this office, how it has come to what it is today. Mr. Nanashima, you are active widely. So who are you as an engineer? In the private world, I used to be an engineer of mobile applications, but especially iOS application. So I would like to stay as an application developer. I love setting up a community. SwiftI, Kokai, the monthly study group. Tricept Tokyo is also the Swift community where a lot of people from all over the world organize. I organize a conference there as well. Lastly, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm from Line. My name is Son. Technical evangelism is the team that I belong to right now. What I do today is API of Line Technologies. The Line has. We are actually expanding that area. Since July this year, I became in charge of OSS. So the panelists that we have today, including myself, we are all engineers. We have the corporate experience of supporting open source softwares. So let us now talk about this topic of OSS. Including our company, there are also other companies that have started the efforts to develop OSS. So I'd like to know what your companies are doing. Starting with Mr. Seo, please. ZOZO Technologies has OSS technology in April 2020, and we wrote a blog about the policy creation, and there was a lot of repercussion to that. OSS policy that we created was basically designed to make it easy for employees to be engaged in OSS activities. So what is characteristic is that if you develop OSSs during the work hours, usually the rights of OSS copyright end up belonging to the company, but we decided to make it possible for employees to decide to own the rights. So the copyright can be the individual's ownership to support the OSS development during the work hours. If it's upon the instruction of the company the OSS is developed, the copyright will belong to the corporation. But you can go through a process to own that copyright upon the request to make it happen that the right being transferred to the individuals. And at the same time, although this is not publicized yet, we have a guideline. This is still internal guideline. When you publicize OSS, if you are original authors, you follow such a guideline. And if you are going to contribute to OSSs, there are another set of guidelines. And also, in using OSSs, there will be also another set of guidelines internally. And each engineer, when they want to use OSS, they don't have to investigate how to do this. There will be always this guideline for them to use, to contribute, to develop, or to use. These guidelines are always available. And with regard to OSS policies, we just established this policy recently. So I cannot say there are many OSS projects, nothing well-known OSSs. But this is a challenge that we need to overcome as we expand our activities of supporting OSS. Having said that, what is noteworthy is the high level of a contribution. DigDag is OSS, and we have 7 contributors from our companies to DigDag. And I believe among all the companies that contribute, I think we have the largest number of contributors. I was one of the first, and I encouraged other people to join so that we can together contribute to OSSs. So it wasn't all that difficult to start contributing to OSS. So that would be just one way to expand our activities. There are members who actually disclose their OSSs. MESRE, for example, Taros-kun was a member of the team, used to work for me. He disclosed his software. He actually applied for the right transfer to be able to own that copyright. Also, what is memorable is since the beginning of this year, Takezo is name of the members who joined the company fresh from the university. Within 6 months since he joined the company, he disclosed one software, OSS, just looking at guidelines. He followed the guidelines. And, well, in the past, people come to CTO office consulting with them, but with the guideline available, they don't have to come to the office. It's so easy now to be able to write and disclose softwares. So it was a good benefit of guidelines.
Thank you. So in your company, what about the reaction of the employees against these policies and also guidelines? The people like me who have been working and contributing to the OSS were there, and we have already accustomed to work as a member of the OSS activities members. And now we have a guideline, and then I can say that it is easier for newcomers to assimilate or to get accustomed to it. ZOZO's culture, I would say that the enterprise products bought, and if you buy a license and usually get the license services from those companies, and that has been the quite standard in our company. So the OSS activities were not really the standard, but now people are using the Kubernetes to write the code for others. And also, as long as you have a source code that maybe you can contribute more for the OSS, and then our activities would probably expand in the future. So there are lots to expect in the future. Then Nanashima-san of Merpei, would you like to share your views about this? Mercari and Merpei, the OSS activities are done in both companies. And both Mercari and Merpei, whether contributing to the OSS or any special contribution to the outside OSS, those were all voluntarily done. So some people were hesitant to do so because license and also copyrights that the engineer couldn't really do themselves. And the company has been helping the engineer to overcome these issues. And the OSPO, this is the organization which has been contributing for the employees to contribute to the OSS. IP, legal department, and also security department, the volunteer members from these different organizations work together in OSPO so that the employees can easily contribute to the OSS. So this is one promotion of the OSS activities, but also we are trying to be compliant with all the regulations and also external laws. If you look at the left-hand side upper, this is the philosophy about the open source of Mercari. So how we are planning to get involved in the open source activities. So this is a guideline, sort of. Mercari has been supported by the OSS. That's why it is a given that we return what we have enjoyed to the open source communities. And all the members of the community should really improve the content and quality of the open source. And being a part of that, the engineer can really grow and also improve their skills. So that was the original intent, to be a part of the open source members, but we made it as the guidelines. And if you look at the hand side, these are the defensive activities. If you look at the left-hand side lower picture, unless you have a knowledge of the law and also regulations, sometimes it's difficult to understand. So when you hit the bot, then you can find some vulnerability in some codes and also things that you are writing. If you go to the right-hand side, non-software publications, we also support. If you look at the, this is a guideline to use Slack inside Mercari, and this has been publicized. And the communication between English and Japanese, this is a Merpei meeting terminologies, both in Japanese and in English. Language education team, we have a team like this. This is a part of a corporate department, not really engineers, but they have also published these vocabulary list to the outside. And the CLA that I'm sure that the people who have been working in the OSS should be aware of this contributor license agreement and then content, and also some of the things that you have to be careful of when you contribute to the OSS. Thank you very much. So as for OSS, in your company, do you think that members are very active in the this type of community activities? Well, it is a given. It is so natural for everyone to participate in the communities. We have OSPO, but everyone really actively work on the OSS. So OSPO try to defend the employees so that all the employees can freely contribute their codes to the community. Thank you. So now from myself, even at Line, we are also involved in hosts of the activities of OSS. So if you look at the screen, you can find Line Engineering. 19 different OSS projects are publicized. As for GitHub, we have 69 projects already listed there. So in that sense, that the technical APS and then technical services and SDKs are all created by Line engineers, and they can freely develop their codes, and also codes can be contributed to the OSS so that they can communicate with other engineers outside of Line. Up to now, we have published 19 projects and also the 69 different OSS products. The Almedia OSS project, the Line developing lots of products, but the RPC are often used. And the CRPC framework, this RPC are developed as a framework of the GPRC, and engineers feel necessary to develop certain codes, and those codes can be developed in this framework. So the product that the engineers have developed are used as the IP, and also it can be contributed to the community as the common goods. So Line, Merpei, and also ZOZO Technologies. As companies, they are working on the OSS activities. So next topic of this session would be like this. We have listened to these keywords in their talks. I would like to ask about the OSS culture in your company. In our case, I don't call our culture has been already matured. I think there are much more room for us to work. I have been working as a committer for this OSS activities, so I share my experience with other people. This is how I contribute to the OSS. And also the leaders and management promote engineers to participate in the OSS. The engineers should write the papers and also increase their presence in the external communities. So we are about to really start the full-fledged type of OSS activities as a company-wide operations. Thank you. So culture. We have a engineer culture, but also corporate culture. So how to communicate your ideas to the enterprise, and how the enterprise is supporting your activities. As for corporate support, we have evaluation system and contribution to the OSS, or writing the technical blogs or papers. The company's evaluation also incorporate those points. Yes, as a part of the evaluation system, they can use the OSS activities.
Mr. Nanashima, well, the company system or culture, rather. Well, yes, culture. As I mentioned earlier, our approach to open source software is really the culture of our company. So I am repeating myself, but open source, the Mercari system is only possible when open source is supportive of us. So as we operate the OSS, we make it sure that we contribute the OSSs to contribute to the OSS community. It is so obvious. And also the forum of growth. Open source community where you can find the way to develop and the way to ensure quality and the way to operate organizations. Know-hows of development are all available. You can actually have experience of that. There are a lot of engineers get together so that they can grow individually, and as a result, the capacity of engineers will be enhanced, meaning that the strength of Mercari will be enhanced. So that's what we want to promote. When it's documented in the beginning of Mercari, this has been succeeded and handed down to the newer generations of workers and engineers. In our company, as well as Mr. Nanashima just said, we make sure that we communicate with the engineers. Actively, engineers are encouraged to develop tools, languages. We provide an environment where they are encouraged to develop open softwares. This corporate culture is very important in terms of motivating engineers. Even though they are motivated, you have to have supportive corporate culture to make it happen. So all of you who are here today in this session seem to have good culture, supportive culture, and supporting engineers to grow, to contribute open source softwares. So the next question is this. Why do companies pay attention to OSS? I believe there are multiple reasons, because OSS obviously gives business values, and both of your companies are promoting OSS development. They are also supporting the growth of engineers, not just to grow business. So the company, your companies have been supportive of engineers developing and contributing OSS. So I'd like to know the reasons why your companies are supportive of, pay attention to OSS. Mr. Seo, please. In our company, first of all, we do use OSS softwares in production environment. Because we should be contributing. So that's why the company is promoting the contribution. And also, individual thought is that I have learned so much many technologies from OSS. There is no deadline, unlike the company's product, and it's been exposed. And I think engineers that are developing OSS are careful about codes, the clean codes. How to write clean code is just one example of many other things that you can learn from OSS. And I have been doing this to be able to strengthen our technical skills. And I want other members to do the same. And CTO has the same thinking. So because of that, the company wants to support OSS. That is why we take note of OSS. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Nanashima, please. Mercari, rather specifically OSPO, trying to make it easy for engineers to work. OSPO has a vision, for example, to make it easy to do OSS to enhance employees' engagement. So OSS activities are closely linked with the development of engineers, career development of engineers. So it's very important to prepare an environment where they find it easy to approach OSS. So why OSS? First reason is for engineers' career development, to make it easy for them to work. And the secondary effect will be the technology branding. That's something that we expect out of that. And engineers would like to work with somebody who committed a specific OSS, and the company will be commended because of the employee who has contributed well-known OSS. So that's another expectation. In our company as well, we have a lot of meetings on OSS. Every time we have a meeting, we often talk about how this is going to relate that to engineers' development and how we can contribute to this industry. So in many different ways, engineers are all busy, usually, but how can we support them so that they are active in OSS world? It's not just a company. They should be able to communicate with other engineers of the wider industry, and that's something that we want to promote. As I mentioned early on, these OSS activities should not be simply regarded as a source of business growth. The companies are still supporting OSS activities, but because of the cost, I think we actually will be rewarded for the cost. They will be able to use tools that they like, the languages they like, and when they are opened as OSS, the efficiency of internal development will be much higher, and as a result, we'll be able to reduce the cost, as both of you mentioned, and this will be critically related to the corporate planning as well. So that is a major reason why we focus on OSS in our company. So the next topic is, if we can move on. We've covered many topics already. As a company or as individuals, when you look at OSS projects, what do you expect? If expect something out of this industry, that could be a good answer as well. So for the whole industry, about a year ago, Elasticsearch, MongoDB, the middleware operating systems, the source code has been opened. Cloud vendors provided managed services based on that, and because of that, SaaS was not selling well. So we sort of explored a way to solve this issue in this industry. If there is a problem like that, source code middleware developing companies will stop disclosing the source code. So even though managed service can be developed, there should be a reward paid to the developer. So that's something that I expect of this industry. Thank you. So your company, what should I say? You have been supportive of OSS development. So as a company, what do you expect something of the company, or what companies expect of engineers? Well, I hope that they will be involved with OSS so that they can enhance their technical skills. So that's what I expect. So Nanashima, same question to you. OSS projects. We, OSPO, often refer to Uber as an example. Uber's OSPO activities are quite helpful. Mercari, Meilpay, OSPO is similar to that. It started off with a couple of volunteers, and there will be dedicated staff members. The team expanded, and so forth. And Uber achieved fast growth. It has now more than 2,000 engineers. Uber organized the open source conference. So that has become a major target for us, how we want to contribute to OSS and so forth. So Uber would be a good example for us.
At Mercari, many engineer teams are creating the codes for the OSS. GCP and spanners are often used in the Mercari. So when they find the OSS publishing of the spanner, then they usually transfer those spanner knowledge to the spanner ecosystem, so that this is going to be more useful for the engineers. Hopefully that we can contribute to the global engineer community by publishing good codes. So I have a high expectation for the OSS community and also activities. Thank you very much. So in our company too, we've been promoting OSS activities in the hope for that. And engineers really produced this type of activities. They create codes and applications, and I think they can use them as a weapon for the future. So at Line, we invite the employees and engineers to participate in the OSS, and they can communicate with other engineers outside of Line, so that we can increase or make a momentum of the OSS activities. At Line, OSS project that we have in our company, and about 200 engineers are working in these different OSS. I don't say that all of them are very active, but through these 200 engineers, we really want to communicate our vision to outside. As Nanashima-san said, that this global conference that you mentioned, hopefully that these three companies can maybe hold this type of global OSS conference in the future. That's my hope. Thank you. Well, it's about time. I think we have 5 more minutes to go. And I have received a few questions from the audience. So let me pick up a few of them, and we will answer to those questions. First one, OSS guidelines. So when you create the guidelines, did you see increase in number of contributions? Seo-san, did you see any increase? OSS policy says that as long as you are in compliance with the guidelines, you do not really have to report to the enterprise, which means that we don't know that how many contributions are done by the engineers. I'm looking at Slacks And I feel that the number of contributions are increasing, but there's no statistics. And as for OSS guidelines, did I have any challenge? We have business regulations. During the work hour, when you create codes, then that code belongs to corporation. The ownership belongs to corporate. So when you contribute the codes to OSS, sometimes that's go against the CLA, and you really have to agree with that contract. So sometimes we have a problem that how do I contribute the codes that I wrote during the working hour? So we have to change the business regulation. I had to bring it to the board of directors meeting and ask them to change. That was hard. I had to discuss with the people in the legal department, and also for the OSS policies that have to be done in the very legal way. So I had a difficulty writing the words of the OSS policies. And I agree. We are also discussing whether we want to do it or not. But because it's so hard for us to write the legal documents, so just gradually we are making a progress. But the ZOZO technology has jumped over us, and we've been referring the SIBO's cases. So I'm very much impressed, and I respect you that you done the great environment. You make a I think that the member of the board of our companies were very innovative and open, so that they agreed that we can do it. I was very much impressed with the decision. So even though they say yes, that we have to go through a very repetitive administrative work, and our members from the General Affairs Department are also helping, and we done it all together. Thank you very much. So now time has come. So maybe I will ask you to give your message about the future hope, please. What type of OSS do you want to create? Yes, continuously, well, gradually, I want to increase the number of members who contribute to OSS, so that hope that we can create the products which are based on the OSS codes. And I will support those type of activities. Thank you. Nanashima-san? OSS. I love communities. And in case of OSS, we can get connected all over the world. So the engineers who work for any company, we can get together in the same community, so that we can really enhance the momentum. Thank you very much. 40 minutes passed so quickly. And we have these members, and we learned from them how we can support the engineers for them to contribute to the OSS, and what the company should do. So I hope that you learned something from this session. At Line, well, up to now, we also worked in the OSS activities, but now hope to see you outside of the Line people. So this is the end of the session. Thank you very much for listening.